horsepower, torque. These two terms are thrown around a lot in the car world, but the difference between them often gets mixed up or not known at all. Hi, I'm that car chick, and I'm here to deconfusion the confusionness.
So I am confusion.
To say it simply, horsepower is how quickly a car can move and what its maximum speed is. And torque is how much force and load a car can handle and how easily it can keep at its maximum speed. Another way to put this, which you might hear a lot in the car world, is horsepower is how fast you hit the wall, and torque is how far you go through the wall. Torque is a rotational force, so the more torque a car has, the more force it can put onto the rotational parts of a car. So the force of the piston moving downwards rotates the crankshaft, which then transfers its power to the wheels, which then turns the wheels. As the crankshaft and the wheels are turning, they are being applied a rotational force to make them move. Torque. The more torque a vehicle has, the easier it is for the vehicle to pull a bigger capacity of load from a starting point. And it also makes it easier for the car to counteract forces when driving so it can maintain the same speed. Torque can be seen as a grunt. Just like that super strong man in the gym who doesn't know how to keep quiet. As annoying as loud grunters are in the gym, they can handle a lot of force and hence lift more. If I tried to lift as much as a bodybuilder, I'd get squished because I just can't handle as much force. To put this visually, greatest transition in the world, I know. Let's say that I, who's tiny and has noodle arms, is in competition with a super strong man in a weightlifting competition. We can easily predict that the bodybuilder is going to win the competition because he can use his muscles to lift more weight, meaning he could also counteract forces such as gravity a lot easier. Now, lifting a weight is a linear force, so lifting the weight up and down. And as we know, torque is a rotational force. So let's use myself and the super strong man in a different example where we can apply a rotational force. Let's say that me and the super strong man are in a competition to see who can push the most weight in a shopping trolley. When you apply force to a shopping trolley, such as pushing it, the force then gets transferred to the wheels, and of course the wheels turn for the shopping trolley to be able to move, and therefore you are creating torque. Now, torque is calculated as force times distance. So using the calculation force times distance, if he was pushing 300 pounds in a shopping trolley at a distance of 1 foot, he would be applying a torque of 300 foot-pounds. Whereas because I've got really skinny midget arms, I'd probably only be able to push 30 pounds in the shopping trolley at a distance of 1 foot. Which means, again, using force times distance, 30 times 1, would mean that I could push 30 foot-pounds of torque. Hey Google, what's 30 pounds in kilos? Yeah, I could definitely push more than 13 kilograms, but it's just an example, okay? Another easy way to visualize this is if I had a bolt that I was trying to undo on a car. If I had a bar that was 1 foot in length and I was applying a force of 10 pounds onto the end of the spanner, I would be applying 10 foot-pounds of torque onto the bolt. It's the same as if I had a spanner that was half a foot in length and instead applied a torque of 20 pounds. Using force times distance, I would still be applying a torque of 10 foot-pounds. And this theory also applies to leverage when you're trying to undo a bolt that just won't come out. The more leverage you have, so the longer your bar is, the less force that you're actually going to have to put on the end of that bar, and the easier it will feel like it is to undo. So if I had a spanner that was 10 foot long, I'd only need to apply a force of 1 pound to be able to still get 10 foot-pounds of torque. Where does horsepower come in? Because, of course, although they do two separate things, the car won't move without one or the other. Horsepower is simply how much work the car can get done in a certain amount of time. This can also be known as power, and power equals work done divided by time. Torque can also be seen as work done. So the more torque you apply, the more work gets done. Because again, work done is force times distance. The more horsepower a car has, the higher the car can rev and the quicker the car can get through those revolutions. Which basically means that it completes the combustion process quicker, so the crankshaft turns quicker, so the wheels turn quicker, so the car goes meow. faster. And you'll often find that supercars such as Ferraris can go through the revolutions quicker than your 90 brake horsepower Corsa. This is because it has more horsepower, which means it can produce that work quicker, making the engine turn quicker and going through the revolutions faster. But what even is a horsepower and who came up with it? Some genius named James Watt found that when he was creating newer and more efficient steam-powered trains, when the world was moving away from horses to carry loads, but he wanted something easy for people to be able to compare the power of a steam train with. So he decided that it would take 1 horse, 1 minute, to carry 33,000 pounds of weight at a distance of 1 foot. Boom! Horsepower. So 1 horsepower is 33,000 pounds times 1 foot, which is 33,000 foot-pounds, divided by the time, which is 1 minute. To then make 1 horsepower equal 33,000 foot-pounds per minute. As someone who was dumb as hell when it came to science in class, this stuff is mind-blowing to me. Like, do you ever just sit there and think, like, someone came up with this, like, out of the blue? Like, it didn't exist and they made it up. Anyway, so now let's apply horsepower to the same example that we were using with the big strong man and me. Okay, so let's say that the big strong man can push 33,000 pounds of weight 1 foot in 1 minute. This would of course mean that he is creating 1 horsepower. 1 horsepower. Now, because I'm a tiny, weak person, I might only be able to push a quarter of what he can push. So let's say I can only push 8,250 pounds of weight. However, because I'm fast as hell, boy, I can push the weight of 8,250 1 foot within 12 seconds, which is 0.2 of a minute. Which means I will be making a power of 41,250 foot-pounds per minute, which is 1.25 horsepower. So although I don't have as much torque as the strong man, I am able to produce this power a lot faster, which means I have more horsepower than the strong man. Okay, let's stop using my gym and shopping obsession as an example and use this in the real car world. Okay, say we have 2 exactly the same Ferraris, both having 1,000 horsepower. They both weigh exactly the same and both have the same driver driving them at the same time. I live in a magical world, okay? The driver multiplied himself. The only difference in these Ferraris is being that one Ferrari produces only 500 foot-pounds of torque and the other produces 1,000 foot-pounds of torque. Who do you think will win the race? If you said the Ferrari with 1,000 foot-pounds of torque, you're correct. Because both of these Ferraris have the exact same horsepower, they'll both accelerate off the line at the same time and reach the exact same maximum speed because they're both producing power at the exact same rate. However, because the other Ferrari has 1,000 foot-pounds of torque, which is double the Ferrari that has 500 foot-pounds of torque, obviously, the 1,000 foot-pound Ferrari will be able to handle all of those forces acting against the car when it's reaching maximum speeds, making it easier for it to keep at that maximum speed. So while they'll both leave off at the same time, the 1,000 foot-pound Ferrari will eventually take over and win the race. The forces acting upon a driving car are things such as air resistance, load, and friction of the wheels against the road. So the more torque a car has, the easier it is for it to counteract all of these forces. Now I'll take you back to the start where I said that torque is how far you go through a wall. This is a very good analogy to use because as torque, as we now know, is how much force a car can handle, when it hits that wall, the wall is a stopping force. So the more torque a car has, the further the car can go through the wall because it can counteract that force and resistance easier. So to put it in simple terms, to conclude, horsepower is how fast a car can accelerate and go and what its maximum speed is and what the maximum revolutions are. And also how quickly it goes through the revolutions because horsepower is quick work. And the more torque a car has, the easier it is for it to counteract any force and resistance and keep the car moving. And both torque and horsepower go hand in hand to make the car move. You thought I was going to throw that, didn't you? I ain't stupid. Woo! Horsepower and torque. There we go. I hope my very amazing pictures helped you visualize it, and I hope my explanation helped you understand, because I know this can be a tricky topic to wrap your head around. As always, if you do have any questions or want any further explanation on anything, feel free to leave any comments down below. And if you did enjoy the video, make sure to leave a thumbs up down below. And if you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button and click that notification bell so you can be the first to watch my videos. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, but that is it for now. I'll see you all next time. But for now, peace.